Yep, there are other efforts to try and tie our economies together. And part of it is just that we're so close and there's manufacturing and there's goods and services traveling back and forth across borders. But also there was recently a treaty that was passed between the U.S. and Canada where if Americans were going to invest in Canadian companies and buy their stock outright, then as an incentive, Canada would give them a discounted withholding rate on Canadian taxes.
Huh. Goodness gracious. And I'll tell you what, you think this is a conspiracy? You think we're crazy up here? I'm going to quote the former president of Mexico, Vicente Fox. You want to know what Vicente Fox has said? 2001, Mr. Fox called for the convergence of our economies, rates of interest, which means monetary policy, income, and the free flow of, quote, people. He also lamented when he was out of office, he was quoted as saying in one of his books, why can't we be not only partners in the long term, but a North American Union? He actually said that, a North American Union. Felipe Calderon, who succeeded Mr. Fox, called illegal immigration in the United States criminalized migration. That's the term for it that they're now using in Mexico. And I'll tell you what's more alarming to me is what Mexican kids are being taught in Mexican schools. I don't know how many people know this, but if you go back to the Mexican War, when, short story, the United States and Mexico got in a conflict in the 1840s. That's how we got California, Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. Mexicans and kids are being taught that's their land. Mm-hmm. And they can go there whenever they want to.
What are they being taught on the Native American reservations?
So, I don't know.
Actually,
that casino money should pay for some good schools,
yeah,
though.
if you look at the chain of custody of those lands, Mexico has no more right to it than we do. It would go back to the Native Americans.
Well, technically, the Native American land is sovereign.
Yeah.
They technically govern it. If you want to be super technical.
Right. But no, that is being taught, and there are a number of Mexicans that believe that is their land, and they have a right to have it back.
Yeah, but we paid them for it too. That's a little known fact.
Not only did we win the war, but we paid them. That's true. That's true. We paid them for it.
Well, and I'll tell you something else. One of the things that really fueled this, if you go back to 2005. There was a conference in Waco, Texas, between President Bush, Vicente Fox, and Paul Martin, who at the time was the Prime Minister of Canada. And they created something called the Security and Prosperity Partnership for North America. Now, on paper, it doesn't look like anything too suspicious, but some of the things that have come out of that, and it's supposedly no longer active. I mean, supposedly as of 2009, none of those three, of course, are in office anymore. It supposedly is not active. But that's, when leaders get together and they basically meet behind closed doors and they come out with some sort of agreement. And remember, this doesn't have to be ratified by the House or by the Senate. This is not a treaty. This is a commitment to, quote, work together. Yeah. Are we not supposed to fear something like this happening?
Well, and that's a good point. The SPP may very well be inactive, but in 2010, if you look at the Secretary of State's website under whitehouse.gov, they created a whole another series of partnerships, like the Caribbean-United States Declaration of Principles, the Joint Caribbean-United States Framework for Security Cooperation Engagement, Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas. There is the Caribbean Basin Trade Partnership Act, and it's to reaffirm our commitment to work toward the successful conclusion of negotiations within the context of the the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.
So now the State Department is going and, quote, doing this.
Yes.
They are not submitting this for approval of the Senate like you'd have to do a treaty.
Right.
So we can enter in this without Senate approval.
Right, because they're just doing work.
Right. All of this sets a groundwork. There are all kinds of analogies. Once you have an investment, whether it's a a conceptual investment or a monetary investment, it doesn't take long before the people who want to go in that direction say, well, we can't give up this investment that we've made. We've got to continue on. Then it does lead to treaties. Then it does lead to other formal alliances that, before we know it, we are up to our neck in the quicksand and being sucked right down.
Right, and you know, the goal is really equalization of everything to make everything one. And I think kind of
which is impossible if you're a free nation.
Right.
Right.
But the most nefarious of these other groups that have been set up, I think, is the Pathways to
we don't even have the
Prosperity.
worst one yet?
Is the Pathways to Prosperity in the Americas Initiative, which it fosters the shared prosperity by expanding economic opportunities.
So basically that's in the Americas. Now you're talking North and South America?
Yeah.
So that's basically North and South America socialists.
Leveling the playing field.
Which means taking from those who have and giving to those who don't. You know, if we want of these countries to be successful, how about we give them capitalism and democracy? How about we do that? You know, Mexico, if you want to share in our prosperity, here's an idea: fix your own country. You know, I mean, they're corrupt. They're run by the drug lords. You know, they have they're dependent on us to. You know, one of the largest things in their economy, two of the three largest, are American tourism and people working in the United States sending money home to Mexico. It's like, where's the opportunity in your country? Do we have to create? I don't want Mexico to be our welfare state.
Right. When you look at things like Fast and Furious and Operation Wide Receiver, that was the same thing, sending arms to Venezuela and Colombia and all these other despot-controlled countries in Central and South America. Is that really our position to do that?
It wasn't more than just a couple of years ago that President Obama was down in Brazil saying, we're going to give you billions to help you drill for oil, and we want to be one of your best customers. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, you know, Mexico every day is drilling for more oil in the Gulf of Mexico, and I don't hear anybody protesting. I don't see anybody complain. If it's about the environment, then it shouldn't matter who's doing the drilling. But that's another thing. I mean, energy independence. I mean, one of the things I worry about with this is, like I said, if you look at the direction we're heading, okay, we're heading, whether we realize it or not, to not being a sovereign nation anymore. Now, whether that means we partner with Canada and Mexico or whatever, or we become part of some one world conglomerate, the signs that we talked about what went on in Europe are happening right now. Right now here.
Right, and like we said, how did that work out for Europe? Europe is in as big or a bigger mess than they were before they got this
it only
all started.
took about 12, 13 years for the euro to tank.
Yeah, that's it.
But, you know, I don't know. I just think that this is something that, you know, we all as Americans have a duty to pay attention. And that means bypassing the media, which is run by 4 super corporations. You know, we really don't have a free media. That's why the government's trying to regulate the internet. So, you know, but it's up to us to pay attention to this stuff.
We can only lose our freedom if we stop working at maintaining it. And hopefully, this type of program, we don't have all the answers. We don't even, I'm not sure we've even uncovered all of the questions. But these are the kinds of things that you need to take a look at every once in a while to find out what's going on and look behind the headlines, look beyond the surface. And not only is this happening on a global level, but it's happening in your own backyard, as some of the things that we have talked about in past shows with ICLEI and all of that stuff.
Right, and I would encourage people to go home and Google some of this stuff.
Right.
You know, Google NAFTA, Google the Independent Task Force on North America, and draw your own conclusions to it.
And hopefully you out there have learned something, or at least we've pointed you in the right direction for you to do a little bit of study. And I want to thank Jason Bradley, and of course the host of our show, the star of the show, Andrew Richter.
Better.
And thank you very much for tuning in. Have a good day.